Welcome to Bydand, the abiding place. This is the story room. The Keeper of the Lamps. There was a woman who kept the lamps along the coastal path. The path ran along the headland where the land gave way to the Atlantic. Rough stone underfoot, salt grass on one side, and on the other, the long fall to the water. The air tasted of brine and wet rock. In the evenings, when the light bled out of the sky, the wind carried the smell of the open sea, kelp and salt, and the cold breath of deep water. She did not remember being asked. She only remembered the first night she walked a path and found the lamps dark, and the knowing, quiet as breath, that they were hers to tend. Each evening she filled her iron pot with oil. Each evening she walked a path from the first lamp to the last, filling, trimming, lighting. And each morning she woke and knew she would do it again. It wasn't complicated work. It was faithful work. And it did not end. That was the nature of it. It didn't end. Some nights the path was clear and she could see each lamp ahead, all the way to the point. The sea spread out below, dark and wide, and the gulls cried from the cliffs as they settled for the night. On those nights, the work felt almost easy, almost pleasant. She could see the whole line of light and know it was enough. But there were other nights when the fog came in from the Atlantic and the world shrank to the circle of light around her feet. The sea disappeared. She could hear it, the waves still working at the rock below, and she could smell it, the salt thick in the air. But she couldn't see it. She couldn't see the next lamp. She could only walk forward into what she could not see, trusting that the stone was still beneath her. She had walked this path so many nights that her feet knew the stone before her eyes did. The dip before the third lamp, the place where the ground narrowed and the wind hit sideways, carrying spray from the rocks below. Her body had learned the path by returning, night after night after night, until the path was in her and she was in the path. People had said things over the years. They weren't unkind things, they were reasonable things. Why do you walk the whole path? Tend the ones near the village. Those are the ones people see. You've been doing this for years. Surely by now you've done enough. She had nodded. She understood why they said it. From the outside, the sameness of it must have looked like stubbornness, or habit, or a life that had simply failed to move on. They couldn't see what she knew, that the repetition was not the cost of the work. It was the work. There was one night, she didn't speak of it often, when she set the iron pot down. The fog was so thick she could taste the salt on her lips. Somewhere out in the channel, a buoy clanged. Slow, heavy, the only sound besides the water and her own breathing. She stood there a long time. The fog pressed in. The sea moved below, indifferent. And in the silence, just a knowing. The same knowing that had first sent her to the path. Something beneath her doubt, older than the question. She picked up the pot. She walked on. The fire lamps were the hardest. The path grew steeper here, the wind sharper. It carried salt spray from the rocks and the sound of waves breaking in places she could not see. No one from the village came this far. No one checked whether these lamps burned. If she stopped tending them, no one would notice. She could not have told you why she kept going, only that the knowing didn't stop at the edge of the village. It didn't say, tend the ones that are seen. It only said, tend them. And so she did. The near lamps and the far lamps, and the ones in between. Because the asking had never come with an explanation. She was trimming the last lamp when she heard it, out beyond the fog line where the dark water met the darker sky, a sound she almost missed beneath the wind and the slow clang of the buoy, a boat, the creak of wood, the low murmur of a voice. She couldn't see it. She never would see it. She didn't know if it was her lamp that had reached them, the last lamp, the one she almost left dark. She didn't know if the light had carried that far, or if the fog had swallowed it at 100 yards from the shore. She stood and listened until the sound faded into the wash of the sea. Then she turned and walked the path home. In the morning, the lamps were no longer needed. The sun did what the sun does, and the path was plain and ordinary in the light. The sea lay calm and grey-green below the cliffs, and the gulls wheeled and they called as if the night had never happened. Anyone could walk the path now. But she knew what the morning did not show. She knew about the dark and the fog and the weight of the oil. She knew about the night she almost stopped. She knew about the sound on the water, the boat she never saw, the lives she could not count, the light she could not measure. And she knew she would walk the path again tonight, as she had last night, as she would tomorrow. Because faithfulness isn't a single act of courage. It is the quiet, ordinary decision to return, made so many times that it becomes indistinguishable from who you are. The woman who keeps the lamps doesn't know who she has saved. She doesn't know how far the light carries, or whether anyone has ever looked up from a dark sea and seen her small flame and turned towards shore. She knows only this: the lamps are hers to tend. And tonight she will fill her pot, and she will walk the path, and she will not grow weary. Because the knowing, the quiet, ancient, unshakable knowing, has not left her, and it will not leave her. Don't grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.